Welcome to LinesToGo installation videos. Today we will be removing and installing fuel lines on a 2001 GMC Sierra 2500HD using LinesToGo part number SS588-B for the lines between the engine and the fuel tank lines, SS591-A for the fuel cooler lines, and 5070-01 for the two lines on top of the fuel tank. While this particular installation is being performed on a 2001 Sierra 2500HD, these sets of lines will also work on the following year, make, and models, as shown on your screen now. LinesToGo lines are made using original equipment end forms and fittings that are CNC bent for an easy and precise installation. We have also upgraded to stainless steel braided Teflon hoses for rust protection and to prevent surface fouling. These have an unlimited shelf life and anti-static PTFE liner. This set of LinesToGo lines are made using 304L stainless steel for rust resistance that exceeds OEM standards. Tech tip: disconnect the battery before working on a vehicle to reduce the risk of shorting out the battery on tools or lines. LinesToGo lines are made with a sectional design for easier installation. We also use color-coded unions on our sectioned lines. Just match the colors at the connections. Tools required: 7mm, 13mm, and 15mm sockets and ratchet, 5/16 of an inch, 10mm and 16mm wrenches, flat blade screwdriver, pry bar, cutting pliers and pliers, drain pan, LinesToGo disconnect tool part number 5230-01 and 3145-01, jack and jack stands. The level of difficulty for this installation is considered to be easy. Start by disconnecting both batteries using a 5/16 of an inch wrench. Next, remove the metal locking clips from the quick connect fittings at the driver's side rear of the engine using a flat blade screwdriver. Release the return line quick connect fitting using the LinesToGo disconnect tool, part number 5230-01. Release the feed line quick connect fitting using the LinesToGo disconnect tool, part number 3145-01. Located below the quick connect fittings on the driver's side of the engine, use a 13mm socket to remove the nut that secures the metal bracket attached to the lines. Remove the two connections at the fuel cooler using the LinesToGo disconnect tool, part number 5230-01. Using a 13mm socket, remove the bolt located at the bottom of the fuel cooler furthest from the frame, along with the bolt at the frame. Remove the fuel cooler from the vehicle. Using the LinesToGo disconnect tool, remove the return line quick connect fitting located in front of the fuel tank. You can now remove the line that goes from the return line at the front of the fuel tank and the outlet of the fuel cooler. Disconnect the plastic clip from the line and remove the line from the vehicle. Next, using the LinesToGo disconnect tool, part number 3145-01, remove the feed line quick connect fitting in front of the fuel tank. Cut the two fuel lines at the flexible section located beside the transmission using a pair of cutting pliers. Use a flat blade screwdriver or pry bar to remove the fuel lines from the plastic brackets located along the frame rail. Remove both rear sections of fuel lines from the vehicle. Using a 13mm socket, remove the nut and bolt securing the front section of fuel lines to the transmission. Using a flat blade screwdriver, open the plastic retaining brackets and remove the lines. You'll also need to remove the wiring harness from these connections by opening the plastic clips that secure it. Position the drain pan and remove the engine oil filter. This step is not required but is suggested as it allows more room to remove and install the front section of fuel lines. Next, remove the old front section of fuel lines from the vehicle. Next, we will be lowering the fuel tank to change the two lines located on top. Remove the fuel cap and use a 7mm socket to remove the 3 screws that secure the fuel filler neck. Using a 10mm wrench, remove the bolt that secures the ground strap to the frame. Using a flat blade screwdriver, open the plastic clip that secures the rear differential vent tube to the fuel filler neck. Support the fuel tank and use a 15mm socket to remove the 2 bolts that secure the fuel tank straps and remove the straps from the vehicle. Lower the fuel tank while guiding the filler neck over the frame. Once the tank is low enough, remove the electrical connector located on the top of the sending unit. Continue to lower the fuel tank out of position. We will be replacing the 2 lines located on top of the fuel tank using the LinesToGo fuel line set labeled 5070-01. Start by removing the 2 lines from the plastic clips located on the fuel tank. Next, use the LinesToGo disconnect tool, part number 5230-01, to disconnect the return line from the sending unit. Next, use the disconnect tool, part number 3145-01, to remove the feed line connection. Install the line labeled 650 into position and secure the quick connect fitting at the sending unit. Secure the line into the plastic clips. Next, install the line labeled 530 into position and secure the quick connect fitting to the sending unit. Secure the line into the plastic clips. To start the installation of the main set of LinesToGo fuel lines labeled SS588-B, position your old front section of fuel lines next to the new LinesToGo fuel lines labeled 500A and 375A. Mark where to position the retaining brackets on the new lines. Transfer the brackets from the old lines onto the new set of lines using a flat blade screwdriver and a pair of pliers as required. Install the new front section of LinesToGo fuel lines into position and secure any remaining plastic brackets. Replace the engine oil filter. Secure the bracket on top of the engine using a 13mm socket. Connect the feed and return line quick connect fittings at the driver's side rear of the engine and replace the metal safety clips. Replace the nut and bolt securing the front section of fuel lines to the transmission using a 13mm socket. Secure the wiring harness into the plastic clips. Next, install the rear section of LinesToGo fuel lines labeled 500B and 375B into position and secure them into the plastic clips along the driver's side frame rail. Please note, the supply line has been redesigned into two parts that connect using a quick connect fitting at the center. No tools are required to make the connection. Secure the lines into the plastic clips along the frame. Connect the quick connect fittings that connect the front and rear sections of fuel lines. Install the new LinesToGo fuel line located between the fuel tank return line and the fuel cooler labeled 590A into position and secure it into the plastic clips. Next, raise the fuel tank into position, making sure to route the filler neck over the frame. Once the tank is high enough, connect the electrical connector to the sending unit. Continue to raise the fuel tank into position. Install both fuel tank straps back into position and secure them using a 15mm socket. Using a 10mm wrench, replace the ground strap. Use a 7mm socket to replace the 3 screws that secure the filler neck into position. Connect the 2 quick connect fittings located at the front of the fuel tank. We will be replacing the lines located on the fuel cooler using the LinesToGo part number SS591-A. Remove the 2 threaded fittings from the fuel cooler using a 16mm wrench. Tech note: use a pair of pliers or a wrench to hold the threaded block on the fuel cooler when loosening and tightening the connections to reduce the chance of damaging the cooler. To install the LinesToGo cooler lines, start the threaded fittings by hand and tighten using a 16mm wrench. Install the fuel cooler back into position and secure it using a 13mm socket. Install the 2 quick connect fittings at the top of the fuel cooler. On the passenger side of the engine, locate the fuel filter. To bleed the air from the fuel system, use a flat blade screwdriver to loosen the plastic bleeder screw. Pump the primer bulb until you stop seeing bubbles and there is a steady flow of fuel coming from the bleeder screw. Use a flat blade screwdriver to tighten the bleeder screw, being careful as it is made of plastic. Reconnect both batteries using a 5/16 inch wrench. If the oil filter was removed, check the engine oil level and top it up as required. This concludes the installation of stainless steel fuel lines on a 2001 Sierra 2500 HD using LinesToGo part numbers SS588-B, SS591-A, and 5070-01. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or would like to purchase the lines you saw today, please call us at 1-855-781-5992. Email us at info@linestogo.com. or check out our website link below. And don't forget to take advantage of our free 2-day shipping. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button below, and we will see you on our next video.